And welcome to the playoff edition of the Eye on Preps podcast. I'm Chip Souza with the Hogs Sports Network, and I'm joined by Erick Taylor of the Arkansas Democrat-Gazette, who's kind of battling a little back injury today, but he is toughing it out. He's a team player, and he's here with us today. What's happening, ET?
I'm making it, man. I'm trying to survive. If you see me grimace every once in a while, man, just overlook it, man. Overlook it.
Just got to play through the pain.
Play it through the plane, man. Hey, gotta love it, man. I don't have the millions to have the treatment that these other guys have, man. So I have to get it done with cortisone and what's the other little cream that smells?
Yeah, a little Bengay, something like that.
Bengay, exactly. Yeah. Bengay, so stuff like that, and a massager, man. So toughening it out, brother. Toughening it out.
There you go. Well, you're all about that toughness, man. Bringing toughness to the show. ET, man, we're going to kind of run our way through the classifications of the playoff results from last week's season 2 because everybody was in playoff action last week. There were no byes in the second round, only in the first round, so everybody was in action last week. And we're going to start in 7A where, ET, there were not really any surprises.
Wasn't surprises at all. I'll take that back. For a while, Bentonville West gave Conway a real scare, I thought there, and that kind of surprised me a little bit. Now, the final outcome wasn't shocking at all. And then Southside giving Fayetteville a tussle, a scare late Friday. Fayetteville, I think, controlled that game. But, Southside, again, they did what we've been saying they're going to do all year long. They were going to give you trouble. They didn't lay down. They came back and made it a battle, man.
So Bentonville wins. It's a game, first game after getting a bye in the first week. Carter and I, big game for them. 20-28, 431 yards, 4 touchdowns for Bentonville. They beat Cabot 42-14. As Erick mentioned, Bryant 56, Rogers 32, the 5-time defending state champs. 600 yards of offense.
Man, wow. And we talked, before we started, and it was one of those games where it was almost ho-hum for Bryant. I mean, they got out to like a 35-3 lead, I believe it was, in second quarter.
Yeah. And
they just kind of, almost lost the interest, and Rogers, again, from start to finish, they kept coming, kept playing. And Quad Sanders and Bryant was not happy after the game, man. I mean, literally, he stayed on the field maybe 3 minutes. And he lit into those guys, and then it carried over. Me and him was talking after the fact, man, and you still fired up. He wasn't happy about the defensive effort they gave, man. Like I said, and give credit to Rogers because they never quit. They kept coming. Dane Williams went out, I think midway second quarter for the game. Jeff Regan came in and played well.
It's great sophomore.
Toby Jenkins, man. The running back, played well. Braxton Lindsey, again, the guy on defense was a monster. So those guys never quit, man, and kudos to them. But again, Quad, he demands a lot out of his group, and he takes a lot of pride on their defense side of the ball, man. And they didn't play well defensively. Now, offensively, I mean, 600 yards is 600 yards. They pretty much did what they wanted when they had the ball, but it's just that, Rogers was putting together long drives and Bryant couldn't get a stop. And, so that he wasn't happy, but I can just about guarantee you that'll be a focal point this week leading up to another big game Friday, man.
Well, Conway 63, Bentonville West 48, a game you alluded to. Bentonville West hung in there with Conway, and they kind of stood toe-to-toe with them. And they led for a little bit of this game, too, like late in the second quarter.
They did, man, and again, it's playoffs and things like that. No one's going to allow that at all. Guys are going to keep coming, man, and West came down. And put up a lot of fight, man, with the Conway squad.
63-48, Conway gets that one. Donovan Amolo, a guy that we've talked about a few times on this podcast, 5 touchdown passes for the Wampus Cats. And then also in 7A, the other game, Fayetteville 30, Southside 24. Fayetteville it was given a lot tougher game than maybe a lot of people thought they would. We knew Southside would come in and bring it hard and show no quit. They didn't. For Fayetteville, good running game. Christian Setzer, 24 carries, 143 yards for the Purple Dogs. And, of course, Drake Lindsey, 26 of 34, 306. Fayetteville advances on to the semifinals. In 6A, the best game of the weekend, I think, in my opinion, PA 27, Marion 26. Brandon Cobb hits Andrew Pfizer with no time on the clock to give PA a 27-26 win.
Man, the only time I guess you can feel comfortable with beating PA is if you're up when the zeros on the clock. And I had to I read the story and was looking at some of the stats, but I saw video of the actual final play. And, man, ran it through it up, and Andrew went up and got it, man. And I was like, wow, amazing.
Wow. Also in 6A, Benton, no surprise, 62-21 over Greenbrier. Big game for Drew Davis, their sophomore quarterback. 5 touchdown passes in that one. And then Braylon Russell, the running back who's committed to Arkansas, 179-yard rushing, 2 touchdowns for Benton. They get the win there big time against Greenbrier. And also in 6A, Greenwood 56, Mountain Home 14. Big game, rushing game for Braden Davis, 18 carries, 184 yards, 4 touchdowns for Greenwood. And then Little Rock Christian, they get the win, 52-28. A high-scoring game against Van Buren. The Warriors advance to the semifinals behind their big quarterback, Walker White, who's committed to Auburn.
Hey, the top 4 honestly probably went like I thought they would. And give credit to, I know that the final score doesn't indicative of Mountain Home. They came in that Greenwood game, and honestly, no one expected them to beat Greenwood. They came in and played well for a half.
They did.
I want to say maybe a 14-point game at the half or something like that. And Greenville, of course, realized, okay, hey, we're about to go to semifinals and do our customary practicing post Thanksgiving, or whatnot, and pulled away. But yeah, kudos to Mountain Home, man. They played tough and played hard, man.
Absolutely. In Class 5A, Shiloh Christian, a big road win. They go down to Valley View, 42-30. Shiloh gets that win. Bo Williams ran for 3 touchdowns. Shiloh intercepted 4 times. They intercepted Valley View 4 times. And you're not going to beat a team like Shiloh. Not going to probably beat anybody throwing 4 picks.
No, especially Shiloh Christian, man. And with that's kind of surprising that Valley View did that. But again, like you said, you throw 4 passes and they get intercepted by Shiloh, you're not going to win. I know, no matter who you are. Nope. I mean, not against that team and that program, it's not happening, man. And that happened with Valley View and Shiloh made them play.
Yep. Pine Bluff 41, Hot Springs, Lakeside 28. Landon Holcomb, big game for the Zebras. 5 touchdown passes in that one as Pine Bluff gets the win there. Camden Fairview, a team that's kind of a little bit up and down this year, but man, in the playoffs they've been really good. They beat Southside Batesville 47-30. How about those Cardinals, E?
Hey, you know what? They outside of Parkview, Fairview has had a really good year, in 5A, and they're showing it right now. Going on the road, back-to-back weeks, and got wins, man. So they're getting it done right now.
Absolutely. Parkview, no surprise here, 35-6 against Mills. The number 1 Patriots, I mean, they led 28-0 at halftime, were really never threatened. Erick McGee and Montario Elston, big games for Parkview.
I mean, we come to kind of expect this with Parkview. No surprise that they do what they do, and just keep it rolling, and no shocks at all, man.
Not at all.
Although that was a rivalry game, so to speak. But again, they come out and handle business. That's what you want out of a group like that.
Brad Bolden's got those boys rolling.
Exactly.
In Class 4A, CAC, how about their game, 59-50 against Nashville?
It was a high-scoring game, which I think most of us thought it would be. Grayson Wilson, man, I mean, what can you say about that kid? I mean, he does it every week. Kind of reminds me of Drake Lindsay at Fayetteville. Grayson is gonna get it done, man, with his arm, his legs, and he's gonna do whatever needs to be done to get those guys wins. And a really, really good game, back and forth game. I think for a while they were Nashville, and but those are old rivals, and expect nothing different when they play each other, man.
This was a rematch of the state championship game last year, and this was no game at all, man. Harding Academy 58, Malvern 34, big-time win for Harding Academy, rolled to a big win. Owen Miller, their quarterback, ran and passed Harding to this win, passing 16 of 18 for 237, and then rushing 124 yards, accounted for 5 total touchdowns against the defending 4A state champs.
I'm pretty sure Harding had that game circled when the brackets came out. Hey, we can get this. We'll get there. Exactly.
Yep.
And they came out, and I think, Malvern, I think it was tough for about a quarter and a half, 2 quarters, but then Harding and Mr. Miller, man, they took over and won going away.
They did. Elkins 56, Monticello 6. Most of Elkins' stars just played a half in this game. Their quarterback, Dizzy Dean, 17 of 23, 130 yards, 3 touchdowns only in the first half. And then their running back, Deshaun Chairs, 165 yards rushing, 4 TDs in 1 half of play. And then they were spectators in the second half and got rested up because they're going to need all they got this week.
Exactly, man. I've been saying this since I guess week 0, week 1. This is Elkins team, man. Hey, they were my sleeper, but I mean, dude, they do it every week,
They're
putting up the
legit.
points. And their defense is obviously good because they shut teams down. Hey, I mean, what can you say? But like you said, they're gonna need a lot of that to come this week, man.
They will. In Class 3A, E, what about this game? Prescott, a team that's been rolling all year long, man. They had to hang on with fingernails and toenails and whatever to beat Fordyce 7-6. Had to hold off a 2-point conversion there at the end of the game to advance.
Those two are rivals as well. You know,
Yeah.
anytime they play, it's going to always be a battle, no matter what the records are. They played earlier in the year. I think Prescott won that one 16, 17-0, something of that nature. But it was a similar game. Defense is kind of battled. I think Prescott got a couple in the second half, kind of pulled away. But hey, I mean, I was surprised at the low scoring as it was in this one. And Fordyce nearly came off with it, man. I mean, they were right there.
They were.
But again, Prescott made one more play than Fordyce did, man, and escaped.
We'll have a new champion in Class 3A, Charleston goes down 35-27 to Bismarck. Charleston had a lead in this game, E, and, man, Bismarck came roaring back, man, and scored 28 unanswered points against the Tigers to knock off the defending state champions.
I saw Bismarck, last year in week 1, I think against Prescott, and they played well. And I saw them once this year. And that team last year, I saw they were young. And so I kind of figured they would be a really good team this year. And you've got to be good to go to Charleston and get a win, man.
Absolutely.
I mean, you got to be good. And so kudos to Bismarck.
Absolutely. And what about Mark Tree, E, in 2A, man? What kind of season are they having? Man, it's been like 50 years or something like that since they've been in the third round or the semifinals. And they knocked off Hazen the week before, and then this week they knocked off Murfreesboro 28-14 to get to the semifinals. Man, so congratulations to those guys.
They are a really, really good team, man. Matter of fact, that their entire conference that they're in up there with EPC and those guys is a good conference. And for them, I'm really not surprised because I saw them a few times earlier this year, primarily online, but just looking at their scores and seeing what they're doing. Hey, they're proving their worth right now. Winning last week against the defending champs, and then coming in and winning, knocking off a #1 seed. This past Friday, hey, and they're back in the semis. First time in a long time, man. They're there.
1972, man.
Long before I was thought of, man.
Yeah, Kenyon Carter, their quarterback, had a big game, accounted for 4 touchdowns in that game. I'm telling you what, man, if you're Bigelow and you're sitting back there going, man, I'm so happy that Mark Tree knocked off Murfreesboro because that way we can get – you go ahead. You go ahead and think –
you might want to change your way of thinking on that one, man.
you go ahead and think that way, and then all your boys can have dates the next Friday night because you'll be available.
Hey, there you go. They're going to have their hands full, man, that's for sure.
Absolutely. So we're going to take a break right here. When we come back, we'll be joined by Richard Davenport of the Arkansas Democrat-Gazette, and he'll bring us the latest in recruiting. This is the Eye on Preps podcast. We'll be right back.
Stay on top of all Arkansas Razorback sports with a Digital Plus subscription on the Hogs Illustrated app. Get complete Razorbacks coverage in one location. Your subscription gives you 20-plus issues of Hogs Illustrated magazine, the most unique and compelling coverage anywhere in the state, plus total access to all the content on WholeHogSports.com, including breaking news, commentaries, analysis, features, recruiting, award-winning photos, and premium message boards. Subscriptions start at just $17 per month. Join the Hog Sports Network team at subscribe.waco.com. That's subscribe.wehco.com. Or call 479-684-5509 to get your front row seat to Arkansas Razorback sports. Go Hogs!
We're back with the Eye on Preps podcast. I'm Chip Souza with the Hog Sports Network, and I'm now joined by Richard Davenport with the Arkansas Democrat-Gazette. RD, well, how's it shaking on this Monday?
Oh, man, it's kind of nice kind of knowing right now that what the decision was going to be about Coach Pittman, and now we can just focus on going forward.
Anybody, Richard, who's not in this business, who's never gone through a coaching search, those are never ever fun to do. And I was not disappointed when that news came out yesterday that Coach Pittman's going to be back, and and I think they made the right decision, and hopefully that holds that recruiting class together. RD, are you hearing anything along those lines today?
No, not really. I think the kids were just, that they were hoping, obviously, to hear the news. And right now, there's no uncertainty. And that's the biggest problem with recruiting when there's uncertainty about a future, the future of a staff. And now that, these guys know that, hey, we're going to be playing for Coach Pittman and his staff next year, that kind of eliminates a lot of discomfort and uncertainty and just everything that goes with it when you're committed to a school, and then other guys that you're recruiting that you feel like that you're close on, that also gives you kind of a boost too. So it's and plus let's face it, these guys they're human beings. They have families, and it's not just Coach Pittman and the 10 position coaches. It's the support staff and about 40, 50 people in that building besides the coaching staff that would be impacted. So I'm happy for all involved.
Me too. RD, we were talking, Eric and I were talking about last week's playoff games involving, the schools around the state, and those Arkansas commitments, just continue to have big games. The quarterback at CAC, huge game. CJ Brown for Bentonville, huge game. Talk about those guys, Braylon Russell, guys like that are having good seasons out there that Arkansas can expect to sign with them here in a couple of weeks.
Yeah, one thing that's really impressed me with CJ Brown is I think he's improved his speed since last year. His acceleration once he gets the ball, it just seems like at a different level. And obviously, I think that's good, bodes well for the future, and he'll only continue to get faster once he gets to Arkansas and gets in the weight program. But yeah, you're right. He's well over 1,000 yards receiving. Braylon Russell, I think, and I had his stats, and I think he had over 100 yards rushing and receiving on Friday, if I'm not mistaken. I'm going off my poor memory. And then Grayson Wilson, I tell you what, I think he's only got 3 interceptions this year. And that tells you he's got a good football IQ. He takes coaching well. And then like Eric said earlier, I mean, he does it with his feet. He does it with his legs, with his arm, and he makes good decisions. He's got a very, very nice arm, above average velocity. So, I think all the guys in state, as far as the commitments, have had good seasons. Kobe Brennan, I think he's graded right around 94%, and for the year, and he had a good season too on the offensive line.
That's over at Southside, and we talked about that a little bit, Richard, with Eric and I, about how Southside they really stood toe to toe with Fayetteville last Friday night, and that's because of that offensive line, which he's a big part of. But that offensive line at Southside was anchored by him, and Arkansas is getting a good, and they need them. They need those big ugly guys up front. They need all of them they can get.
Yeah, and that's the thing that they need to do. Obviously, you continue to recruit on the offensive line, but you got to keep them on campus. We can go back to the first 2 classes of Sam Pittman's first 2 years, and we can kind of pinpoint the problem with what's going on right now with the offensive line. 3 of the guys in the first class, they're no longer on campus.
Right.
The 3 guys in the second class, only one's contributing. The other 2 haven't even seen the field yet. Those guys would, obviously be a little bit more mature, be more physically mature if they had, stayed on campus.
Right.
And if instead of just one contributing, you had 2 or 3 contributing, we might not even be talking about this.
Whole different
because
the
offensive line, usually 3rd, 4th year, that's when you see guys from high school to college start contributing and start to be able to hold up physically in the SEC, and they've kind of had to do some patchwork with some younger guys, and the younger guys are very talented, but they're still young. And I think next year you're going to see a little bit of an improvement on those guys, and they'll kind of have the mentality, been there, done that, and obviously be stronger. And And obviously, I think Coach Pittman kind of hit on it, that they're going to be focusing on the portal and junior college. They added junior college offensive lineman
Saw that
in this weekend for an official visit, 6'7", 340 pounds. Jaquan Bolden from from Mississippi Junior College visited and seemed like it went well. But it all goes back to those first two classes, if you ask me.
It does. And RD, what a lot of people don't understand is that when kids are in high school and they're large, they're able to have their way with a lot of their opponents because their opponents are not, as large as them, and so they although they look to be physical, it's a difference when you're playing against guys that are your size and and as strong as you or stronger. So it takes time. And I know guys in high school, they lift, they do lift, but it's nothing like having a full-time strength and conditioning coach like you get on a college campus that can turn that 320 pounds of somewhat muscle into 320 pounds of real muscle, and that just takes time. It takes time for that to develop and time to build that, and not to mention the footwork and all that goes into it. Rarely do you see a dude that can step from a high school campus to the college campus as an offensive lineman and make an impact. It rarely do you see that.
You're exactly right. You see it once in a while, the Sean Andrews and people like that. But that you may see one or two of those every 10 years or 15 years. But that's the thing. You need to put them in the oven, kind of give them a little seasoning, and 3 or 4 years, if they're able to contribute, that's when they should be contributing.
RD, got a question for you here. I'm saying, in my opinion, Jason Peters is the best professional football player who's ever come out of the University of Arkansas. Fight me on that.
Kind of hard to disagree, just because, my gosh, he's going on his 20th year. He's 40. What is he, 40?
Yeah.
And he's played for, last I saw was the Seattle Seahawks.
Incredible.
I can't imagine 40 years old, 330, 340, 350 pounds, whatever he is, still going strong and playing at a high level. And he was a dominant offensive lineman, earlier in his career.
Yeah.
And I don't know if he's, what he was when he was in his 20s and early 30s, but yeah, I mean, I think there's an argument to be said about that when you play for so long at a high level.
Yep.
And it just blows me away that how he can be so effective at 40 years old. And because you start to slow down and the aches start to show up, and yeah, I mean, it's amazing. It just to think that he and Sean Andrews were on the same, next to one another on the offensive line, even though he was technically a tight end. Oh my God, that was unfair to anybody going against those guys.
Well, and kudos to Houston Nutt for seeing that, and getting Jason Peters here and helping him develop and that kind of thing. But
you got to give, not to interrupt, but you got to give Bobby Allen a lot of credit. He's the one that found him, and the thing was, he was never in the weight room in high school. He played basketball. He did track and field, and he obviously saw his athleticism and his size, but to know that he had never really been in the weight room that much. That's what took him to the next level, and the guy was just a freakish athletic guy.
Wow. Well, Richard, the early signing period for football is coming up. I think it's like December the 10th, 11th, 12th, 13th, 14th, 15th, somewhere in there. It's coming up here in a couple of weeks. How many of the guys that are still in this class of, I think there's 18 commitments, do you think are going to be early enrollees?
Oh, I compiled a list a few months ago, and I can't remember exactly, but I think it's the majority of them.
Okay.
I need to go back, and especially right now, and check on that. And I'm pretty sure I posted it on the board, but I think the majority of them, how much of a majority, I can't say off the top of my head, but a large portion of them will be on campus in January.
Good deal. Good deal. RD, as always, man, we appreciate it. For people wanting to know more about recruiting and stay on top of it, Richard has a column in the Democrat Gazette 3 days a week. He also has a column on hogsports.com, so you can follow Richard also on the X and keep you up with the latest in recruiting. Man, Richard, we always appreciate it. Thank you for being on with us, and we will catch you back here next week.
All right, buddy. We'll see you guys.
We're going to take another break right here. When we come back, Erick Taylor will join us again, and we're going to talk about some absolute awesome games that are going to be played this week in the third round of the high school playoffs. We'll be right back with the Eye on Preps podcast.
Get the latest breaking news on all Arkansas Razorback sports at WholeHogSports.com. Our award-winning reporters and photographers go beyond game recaps to bring our subscribers the most trusted Razorbacks news anywhere. With expert analysis, the latest in recruiting, plus unique and compelling stories of your favorite teams. Subscribe today at WholeHogSports.com.
And we are back with the final segment of the Eye on Preps podcast. I'm Chip Souza with the Hogs Sports Network, joined by Erick Taylor with the Arkansas Democrat Gazette. ET, man, if you could be in multiple places at one time this week, this would be the place. This would be the time to do it because, man, there's going to be some outstanding games Friday night.
There won't be any shortage of games in every part of the state to go check out if you want to watch some high school football and good high school football games at that, man. I'm not talking any slouches in any of them, man. If you want to watch a good game, I guarantee you there's one available close somewhere.
You just kind of close your eyes, circle, and put your finger on the map, and you're going to get
exactly.
One. Man.
Exactly, man.
Man, so let's start in 7A. Bentonville at Bryant. Bryant, the 5-time defending state champions. For those of you who thought they were going to take a step back when Buck James left to go over to Conway, guess what? They did not.
They did not. Man.
They did not.
And they're still loaded.
Yeah, yeah. That's going to be a great game. Then up here in Northwest Arkansas, just past the tunnel on I-49, Conway at Fayetteville E. This game, man, if you think Conway and Bentonville West put up points last week, what is this one going to be?
This was going to be high scoring, man. I think they played last year in the playoffs. I want to say Conway won that one.
They did.
But man, this is going to be a high scoring game, man. Again, it may sound cliche, but it may come down who had the ball last.
It could be. It could be. Man, 6A, it's going to be just as loaded. I mean, this one, Little Rock Christian at Benton. That's going to be a great one, man. To me, I might not be right about this. To me, Benton is the most complete team in 6A. To me.
And that's including their their first loss to Bryant.
Yeah.
And people forget about that game. They were right there for a half with Bryant. And then Braylon Russell got out in the second half.
Yep.
And Bryant put on away. And not to say that was the determining factor, but that was a huge piece factor of what they had to do. And then you're breaking in, I think Davis, the sophomore, I think he may have played a half of the game maybe or whatnot. But since then, they've been
different team,
a completely different team, man. And this game here, these two teams scrimmaged each other before the season actually started. And I think Christian won, but I don't think Ben put a whole lot of stock in that one. They're putting plenty of stock in this one.
Yes, they are.
I guarantee you that it'll be a standing room and crowd. Hey, and like I'm with you on that. Ben is probably the most complete team in 6A. I have been, really pretty much all year.
Yeah,
and that's no slight to Greenwood.
No, not at all.
Else.
Not at all. I mean, Greenwood is an excellent team, and man, any of these 4 teams in 6A, just like in 7A, whoever wins the championship will have earned it because
exactly right, man.
Because these are great teams. So you got Little Rock Christian going to Benton. You got PA going to Greenwood. Greenwood, Greenwood Benton is 1 and 1A and 1A and 1B or however you want to put it. In my mind, I mean, these are the 2 best teams in 6A, but PA has shown that they never out of a game.
Never out of the game. You literally have to beat them when the clocks it says 0.
Yeah.
I mean, and then in their PA. I mean, hey, I mean, you literally have to put your foot on their throat and not let up until
You better.
the buzzer is sounding and cheerleaders and everybody's running onto the field.
Yeah, man. And so great games in 6A. 5A, going to be the same thing, man. He talked about Camden Fairview. Man, what a great little season that they've had, man. And they have gone on the road twice and got 2 big playoff wins. Can they do it again?
It's gonna be tough. But the thing about it is that they're familiar with Parkview. Parkview got them pretty good a few weeks ago in the same. I believe they played at Little Rock, but if not, I mean, Parkview is Parkview, and Fairview knows what to expect. So I don't think there'll be any surprises. And with the way they're playing right now, you know, anything can happen. Again, it's going to be tough. And this is probably the toughest assignment of anybody that's left in the playoffs to beat Parkview on their home field.
Yeah.
But I mean, again, like you said all the time, man, this is why we play the game.
Exactly.
You know, and they're going to come in with nothing to lose, everything to gain, and I expect them to play it that way.
The other semifinal, Pine Bluff comes to Shiloh. Shiloh had to go on the road last week at Valley View. They knocked off a number 1 seed, so they picked up that number 1 seed for this week. They're back at home where they are hard to beat at home. Pine Bluff has to make a long drive up to Northwest Arkansas. Will that be a factor?
I think if Pine Bluff, well, the drive I think may not be as bad, but if they can avoid being snowed under early,
yeah,
I mean, you can't let Shiloh get out to a big league, and because if you do, you're playing catch up and you're almost one-dimensional at this point, and they're going to feed off that. So if they can avoid falling into a hole early and control the pace of the game, you know, and I expect it to be a good game either way. But you know, and again, in turn with that, Shiloh has to limit Pine Bluff's big plays.
Yeah,
you know, last week, Cordy Crutchley, I think, caught 5 passes for almost 300 yards. That's like what 50, 60-yard a catch.
Yep.
You know, so they have to eliminate Pine Bluff's big plays, and Pine Bluff has to keep from getting into a hole early. You know, and I think both teams will kind of do that, and it'll be a good game.
I think Shiloh, if I'm not mistaken, Ian, I could be. I have been wrong once in my life before, but I think Shiloh Christian's last home playoff loss was to Arkadelphia. When Arkadelphia won the second that year, Arkadelphia won the second of their back-to-back state championship games. If you remember, that was the game that Shiloh's running back the day before had the appendicitis and did not play. And I think that was their last. I may be wrong about that, but I think that's right. I think that was their last home playoff loss, and they have hosted several home playoff games, so they're tough to beat at home. 4A is in the quarterfinals. The game that everybody in the state wants to see Friday night in this classification, or maybe in any classification, Elkins at Mustang Mountain CAC. This is going to be a wild game.
I mean, you thought 59-50, I think it's 59-50 with Nashville last weekend with CAC. This one may end up, you know, in the 70s, you know, and literally I expect these offenses go up and down the field, you know, but I do think Elkins' defense is a tad bit better. And if they can get some stops and then turn those stops into points, and it'll benefit them. But it's hard slowing down, you know, Grayson Wilson and those guys at CAC.
Yeah.
Man. They score points. They've done it every week. But so has Elkins. So I like you said, I expect 50 plus from both teams. And that's just being honest. As crazy that may sound for a quarterfinal playoff game, that's kind of what I'm expecting, man.
And I think you may be right on that one, E. I mean, that's going to be a crazy, crazy game. How about in 3A? Can Bismarck ride the momentum of going on the road and beating the defending state champion Charleston? Can they hold on to that momentum and use that to knock off number 1 Prescott?
If there's a team that's, I think, is built to beat them as far as matching what Prescott does offensively, Bismarck is, and that's, you know, and of course Boonville running the ball is stylistically a nightmare for anybody as well. But I think Prescott can go toe to toe with Bismarck can go toe to toe with Prescott as far as matching what they're able to do. It's the fact if the consistency with it, you know, you can't score one drive, then go 3 drives without scoring.
Right.
Because Prescott's going to keep scoring and keep putting pressure on you, man. So if they're able to consistently match what Prescott does and make it a 4-quarter, 3.5-quarter game, Hey, anything is possible.
You can bet that Bismarck's going to watch that film
Oh, yeah.
of the Fordyce game against Prescott, and they're going to go, man, whatever they did, we want to try to duplicate that same thing, this
No
week
doubt.
to try to keep Prescott down.
Exactly.
Class 2A, Bigelow at Mark Tree. Mark Tree, what a kind of a storybook season they've had so far. Can they keep this storybook going, E?
That's the game, and honestly, for me, that's the second most anticipated game I'm looking forward to in the entire playoff that's left. That one, and then of course, Laura Christian Ben, and it's so many good games. But this March Tree Bigelow game, and Bigelow has been good for a while on those starts, man. But again, Mark Tree is playing where they've been playing well all year long, putting up points, knocking off one seeds left and right. And it's going to be a good game, man. And that's going to be a drive, and it's really, really going to have. Man, I would love to actually go up and watch that game, but of course we got so many other things going on. But that's going to be a good one, man. It's going to be a good one.
Absolutely. Well, that is the games that are going on this weekend. We are in semifinals in 7A, 6A, 5A, 2A, and then in 4A and 3A we're in quarterfinals. So, man, we are making our way to the Rock. We're making our way there.
Almost there, man. Almost there.
That's right. That's right. So that's going to wrap up this week's Eye on Preps podcast. Thanks, Erick, for being on with me as always. If you want to read more about prep sports, you can catch that in the Arkansas Democrat Gazette or the Northwest Arkansas Democrat Gazette. It's wall-to-wall prep coverage almost every day. So you'll want to be sure and check out that stories and stats and all that kind of stuff going around the state. So be sure and check out that coverage in the Arkansas Democrat Gazette and the Northwest Arkansas Democrat Gazette. Man, I'm gonna have some turkey on Thursday. Have me a little turkey, and then, man, I'm gonna watch some good football on Friday.
It's gonna be a whole lot of football to be watched Friday. That's for sure, man.
I think I'm gonna sneak down to Fayetteville and catch a little of that Conway Fayetteville. I'm gonna have a hot dog in one pocket and something else in another pocket, because, man, I might be there for about 4 or 5 hours, man, Friday night.
Absolutely. That game is going to probably be about a 4.5-hour game. I can almost guarantee on that one, man.
That's a 3 hot dog game.
There you go.
All right, man. Thanks for being on with me, man, and I will be back here with you next week on the Eye on Preps podcast, man. If you're out there listening or watching, man, you need to go catch a game Friday night, and it don't matter where you go, just go.
Just go, man.
There you go. All right, see you next week.
All right, brother.